There is a rule of congressional entitlement called the franking privilege. It appears in no law you were ever asked to approve, and it has existed since 1775, before anyone wrote the Constitution. It lets every sitting member of Congress flood your mailbox with their name and face, paid entirely by you, and there is no mechanism to stop it. The franking privilege means a member of Congress can send mail using their official signature in place of a postage stamp. No stamp. No personal cost. The taxpayer covers it. Every newsletter, every mass mailing that arrives with a congressional seal and a photograph, that is not paid for by the person sending it. It is paid for by the federal budget. Title 39 of the United States Code, Section 3210, codifies the privilege, but codified is not the same as chosen. No citizen cast a vote for this mechanism. It was inherited, adopted, and written into law by the precise people it benefits. That is not an accident. The franking privilege did not begin in America. It arrived from the British Parliament, where members of the House of Commons had been sending free mail since 1660. The Continental Congress adopted it in 1775, before the United States existed as a legal entity. When the Constitution was ratified in 1789, the privilege came with it, not as a clause, not as an amendment, not as a debated provision. It was simply assumed to continue. The first formal statute enshrining it passed that same year. There was no public deliberation. There was no recorded opposition. The people who stood to benefit were the same people writing the rules. And so it became permanent by default, the way most unaccountable mechanisms become permanent, not through force, through the quiet assumption that no one would ever question it. Today, the privilege is governed by a body called the Commission on Congressional Mailing Standards. 6 members, 3 from the House, 3 from the Senate, all of them sitting members of Congress. The body that decides what is and is not an appropriate use of taxpayer-funded mail is composed entirely of the people who use taxpayer-funded mail. They write the guidelines, they investigate the complaints, they issue the rulings. No external audit, no independent review, no outside enforcement. They police themselves. Remember, no one voted for this arrangement either. In an election year, the restrictions tighten nominally. Members cannot, under the guidelines, use official mail to solicit votes or contributions. But the line between constituent communication and self-promotion has never been clearly drawn, and the Commission has never had the political incentive to draw it. What members can send is a mass mailing to every household in their district with their name in large type, their accomplishments listed, their face at the top, up to 90 days before a primary election, at taxpayer expense. In 1988, the General Accounting Office estimated the House alone spent over $100 million on franked mail in a single 2-year period, not from campaign funds, from the federal budget, from you. A challenger cannot do this. A challenger pays for every piece of outreach from their own campaign war chest. The incumbent uses your money to remind you they exist, repeatedly, in the period immediately before a vote. That is not communication. That is structural advantage written into law, funded by the people it disadvantages. And here is the part that should actually worry you. It is completely legal. To repeal the franking privilege, you would need a majority of Congress to vote against a benefit they personally hold. You would need incumbents to voluntarily surrender an advantage that every study shows increases name recognition, and name recognition is what wins elections. The mechanism that must be dismantled is controlled by the people it protects. This is not a loophole. It is a structural lock, designed this way not through malice exactly, but through the principle that governs every self-reinforcing privilege. The people holding the rule also hold the pen. What this tells you about every other institution is this: the rules that most shape ordinary life are rarely the ones debated in public. They are the ones inherited, assumed, and written quietly into statute by the people they benefit. The franking privilege is visible once you look for it. It has a name, a code section, a commission. Most rules operating the same way do not. They exist as agency guidance, as departmental tradition, as unwritten protocol that every official knows and no reporter covers. The franking privilege is not exceptional. It is a template. If you can find one mechanism designed to be unaccountable by construction, operating legally, invisibly, permanently, the question you should be sitting with is not how rare that is. Every congressional term, the same faces appear in your mailbox, the same names, funded by the same budget that funds the roads and the courts and the agencies. Behind it all is a commission of 6 sitting members with no public record, deciding what counts as official and what does not. They meet, they rule. And somewhere in that process is the answer to a question no one in that room is ever going to ask out loud. If a mechanism is legal, self-policing, and impossible to repeal, is it a rule at all? Or is it just power with a name?